One thing that lock stitch sewing machines have in common is they'll use some kind of bobbin, like these here. They all look fairly similar. Are they all the same? Does it really matter what kind of bobbin you put in your sewing machine? My name's Ollie, this is Simply Stitchy. Let's find out. Now, I'm not going to be dealing with every single type of sewing machine bobbin that's available. In this video I'm only going to be covering the more common bobbins, because those are the ones that people are more likely to confuse and use the wrong ones. So the bobbins that we're going to be looking at today are the class 15, the class 66, the class 221, the touch and sew bobbin and the class L. At the top here we've got the class 15 bobbin and bobbin case. Now there's two different styles of the bobbin case for the class 15. This style, which has got this little finger pointing to 11 o'clock, and there's another style which has that little finger pointing more over this way towards 1 o'clock. There's the case and there's the bobbin. It's actually sitting just a little bit lower than the rim of the bobbin case, and it just slots in so that that little finger sits in the little notch that's just at the top there. We'll try the touch and sew first. Ta-da! Not going to fit. It's not going to fit on either side. This is the class 221 bobbin and the class 15 case. And the next one that we're going to try is the 66. Now the 66 and the 15 are the two that are most likely to get confused for each other. Let's just see if we can get it to fit in the case. It does fit in the case. It sits just a little bit lower than the rim of the case. And this is one of the reasons why these two bobbin classes in particular do get confused for each other. If we compare that with an actual class 15 bobbin for a second. Usually you wouldn't put a class 66 bobbin in a case because this is for a top loader and the case for this one actually stays inside the machine. And now what we're going to do is we're going to see if this combination will fit in this machine. And it fits. It doesn't, however, come back out of the machine with the bobbin case, and it is quite wibbly wobbly on the actual post there. Now let's try that with a plastic class 66, see if we get the same results. It fits. Again, it's got left behind inside the machine, and there's quite a bit of wobble. Now although both of these bobbins do actually fit in the Singer 1591 and in this bobbin case, you're not going to get a decent stitch with either of them because of that size difference. That little bit of space there is going to give this bobbin wiggle room inside the case, and it's going to be rocking backwards and forwards as the machine sews. Another bobbin that we need to try in this machine is this one. This is the class L bobbin from the Ricker 2900. Here's the bobbin case for the Singer 15, and let's just see if the bobbin will fit. Although many of you out there with domestic sewing machines are likely to have a class 15 machine, it's not necessarily going to be a Singer 15. It's more likely to be a modern sewing machine that's based on the design of a Singer 15, like this one. This is the Singer Simple, and it's a class 15 sewing machine, which basically means it takes a class 15 bobbin. The class 15 bobbin was originally designed for the Singer 15 range of sewing machines. Because Singer was such a huge player, their competitors, instead of trying to do their own thing, copied a lot of the features and the specifications of the Singer 15 when they made their own sewing machines, so that people were more likely to change from the Singer brand to their brand and still be able to use the features that they'd bought for their original sewing machines, which could possibly have been Singers. And that's why even today feet from this machine will fit on my Janome, or feet from my Janome will fit on my brother, and vice versa. And the same goes with the Class 15 bobbin. It's universal across this particular type of sewing machine, the Class 15. If we take a look at these two bobbin cases for a moment, this one is the bobbin case from the Singer 15, and this one is the bobbin case from the Singer Simple. And they look pretty much near identical, apart from, you notice that the fingers are going in opposite directions. You remember I said earlier in the video, there's one style of these bobbins that goes towards 11 o'clock and the other one that goes towards 1 o'clock. We're going to try the same exercise again. We're going to try these various different bobbins in a modern day Singer Class 15 sewing machine, which in this case is the Singer Simple. This kind of machine, the style of Class 15 that comes with a bobbin case, is less important whether you use metal or plastic, because it can cope with both. But this particular Class 15 came with a plastic bobbin, so I always use a plastic bobbin in this one. Next up we've got the metal Class 66. And it fits in the same way as it did in the Singer 15's bobbin case, with just that little bit of a gap just there. Let's see if it'll fit in the machine. Yes, it does. And it actually came out with a bobbin case this time, which is good. But again, that gap, that wiggle room, if you like, is going to mean that while this machine's moving, that bobbin is going to be moving about inside the case. Another type Class 15 machine that I think deserves a mention is Jerome here, my Janome QC6260. Because this machine is a computerised machine and because it's a modern day top loading machine, he can only take plastic bobbins. A lot of people try and use the metal bobbins with these machines, and although they do fit because they're essentially the same size as plastic, the metal is going to upset the tension and the balance of the machine because there's a little bit more weight in metal than there is in plastic. Because the Class 66 bobbin comes in both metal and plastic, it can be easy to confuse your Class 15 for these. If we take a look at the Class 66 bobbin, it does actually fit in the hole, but the gap between this bobbin and the top here is larger than it is with the Class 15. If we take a look at how the Class 15 bobbin sits in the bobbin case, it's quite close to the top. While the Class L bobbin won't fit in the bobbin cases for either my Singer 15 or my Singer Simple, it does fit in the bobbin area for the Janome. Now obviously I can't use this L bobbin with this particular Janome because this Janome only takes plastic bobbins, but Class L bobbins do come in plastic and they come pre-wound with thread on them. But having said that, the actual fit of the bobbin, the L bobbin, in the Janome is quite tight, and I can see that that would cause quite a few problems if you were to use the plastic Class L in this style of machine. Pre-wound bobbins are also available on the Class 15 size, also known as the SA156, so there really isn't any need at all to use an L class bobbin in a Class 15 machine. The 15J is near identical to the Class 15. There is only a slight doming or curving to the top of the bobbin, which is pretty much invisible. But as soon as you put a 15J in a Class 15 machine, you're going to know it's the wrong size because you're going to have problems with it. we've got the class 66 bobbin. Now these are for top loaders, usually vintage top loaders of the class 66, like the Singer 66, the Singer 99, the Singer 185. Class 66 doesn't have a bobbin case that's removable from the machine. This is the bobbin case. It stays on the machine. The only thing that comes out is the bobbin, and that's the bobbin that came with it. That's a vintage 66 bobbin. This one is a modern 66. Let's see if we can get any of these bobbins to fit in it. The first one I'm going to try, just for novelty's sake, is the actual modern 66 bobbin, and there you go. It sits neatly with just a little bit of a gap between the top of the bobbin and the top of the bobbin housing there. It's exactly the same kind of distance away as the vintage 66 bobbin. Let's try that with the 221. Good news is the 221 does not fit. We've got the touch and sew. Again, even though the touch and sew is for a top loading machine, it's not going to fit in the class 66. And the last one we're going to try, the 15. The class 15 bobbin fits in the class 66 sewing machine, but can you see just there, you see how it's sitting slightly above the bobbin housing or the bobbin case? It's actually sitting a little bit proud. I can get the seam ripper in between the bobbin case and the actual bobbin. So although yes, you can get a class 15 bobbin in a class 66 machine, that difference in size, that slightly higher height of the class 15 bobbin, is going to cause problems if you try and sew with that bobbin in this machine. If we just compare that again with the bobbin that actually came out of the machine, there's the difference. That's the height of the bobbin and that's the height of the casing. This one is actually a class L, and it's got a particular type of bobbin case with the top cut out. If we take a look at the L bobbin alongside the 15 for a moment, they are pretty similar in that they look pretty much the same in size from the top. But if we turn them side on, you'll see that the 15 is just that little bit fatter, or stands a little bit higher than the L bobbin does. Now if we compare that with the 66, you'll notice that the L bobbin has a flat surface similar to the class 15, and the 66 is domed. This is the Ricker 2900, and if we take a look at its bobbin for a moment, it lives in here. This is the bobbin that goes in the case. Now if you just take a look at how neatly and snug that fits, and it just slots in neatly like that. If we take a look at the other bobbins that I've got here, if we start with the Singer 66 and try and fit that in the bobbin case, it kind of looks as though it fits. It's inside the case, it's sitting without me holding it in, but if you look very closely you'll see that it's just sitting slightly proud at the top, and that's due to the fact that the 66 bobbin is slightly domed, so it's just sitting a little bit proud. You see it? Now let's see what happens when we try and put the 66 bobbin in the Ricker. Okay, so it won't go in. It's actually just sticking out a little bit from the machine. It's not slotting into place. Now remember, the class 15 is the usual size that you'll find in most modern day sewing machines, and it is in a lot of the old vintage ones as well. Let's pop it in the case to start with. The 66 was a little bit subtle in the fact that it was sitting slightly proud. With this 15, it's pretty obvious that there's a bit of a size difference between the case and the bobbin. You see that gap there, just between the top of the case and the rim of the bobbin? That means this bobbin's too big. And if we try and pop it in the machine, again, it's pushing it slightly proud of the bobbin housing just there. The next one to try is the Singer 221. And the good news is it's impossible to mistake a 221 for a class L because it won't even go in the case. Look at that, it's way too big. And the touch and sew bobbin is designed not to be used with a case, but as you can see, again, you've got no chance of mistaking the touch and sew for a bobbin that would fit a ricker. This bobbin and that bobbin case are for the class 221, which is the Singer Featherweight series of machines. So this is the bobbin that fits the Singer 221, the Singer 222 and their slightly bigger sister, the Singer 301. We take a look at the 221 against the Singer 15. The difference is pretty obvious. The 15 is a lot taller than the 221, and although they've got the same design with holes, you'll notice that this one is just that little bit wider. This is the Singer 301. This is its bobbin and bobbin case combination. As previously mentioned, this particular bobbin also fits the Singer Featherweights, the 221 and the 222. It just goes in like that, and you can see it's flush. There's nothing sticking out of the bobbin case. Take a look at the touch and sew. Again, the touch and sew bobbin isn't meant to be used with a bobbin case, but let's see if we can get it to fit in. That's the smaller side, the bottom of the touch and sew bobbin. That won't go in, and neither will the top. So you won't confuse this machine with the touch and sew bobbin. Let's try the class 15 in the class 221 bobbin case. Okay, so that is sitting way proud of the actual bobbin case. It is, although it is an okay size from a diameter point of view, you're not going to get that close enough to the inside workings of the machine to allow the needle to pick the thread up to make a stitch. If we try the 66, this is the class 66 bobbin, again, see that gap? That's going to make it impossible to get a stitch out of the machine, because you just won't be able to get the case in close enough for the needle to pick the thread up. This one here, this is for the Singer Touch and Sew. As you'll note, it's a lot different to the other bobbins here in that it's two different sizes. The bottom is smaller than the top. This is a Singer Touch and Sew, and just like the Singer 66 or 99, it's a top loading machine, and the bobbin just fits in here. There's no bobbin case with this one because it's a top loader. It has this little lever though that holds the bobbin in place. Now the bobbin that fits this machine is this one, which is the one that has a smaller base to the top, and it's got these distinctive white markings going around. There's three of them. There's one in the middle, there's one a little further out, and there's one fairly close to the edge. And this one at the edge, that indicates that this bobbin is full. You can't go past that white line. Not if you want the bobbin to work properly anyway. And that white line on the front is actually level with the back of the bobbin, and it goes in like that. Let's try that with some of the other bobbins. This one is the class 15. It's not sitting particularly straight inside that bobbin case there. There's nothing to hold it in place because it's actually too small. And even if you put the little lever down, this bobbin is just too high, so that's not going down properly. So the class 15 bobbin does not fit in a touch and sew. Next, we're going to try the metal class 66. Okay, it sits a little bit neater in the bobbin case. The little lever does go down and sits nice and flush across the top. That's probably because it's slightly lower than the class 15 bobbin is. However, there is a distinct gap around the outside of the bobbin, which means that this bobbin isn't going to fit properly. You might find that it will have an impact on stitch quality and your ability to actually wind the bobbin if you try and put a 66 in this machine. And the next one we're going to try is the class L. Okay, it fits in the bobbin case, kind of. The little lever goes down and it sits even flusher on this one than it did with the class 66 bobbin. But again, you've got this gap between the actual bobbin and the bobbin case. So you're not going to get much of a decent stitch with this bobbin in this machine either. And another thing that you need to watch with this particular machine is it does not take metal bobbins. This touch and sew takes plastic bobbins, and they are only available in plastic. So bearing that in mind, let's try the plastic class 66. Well, it fits in the hole just the same as the metal one did. It does wibble about a little bit. The little lever goes down and it does kind of hold it in position, and it does kind of turn, but again you have this gap which is going to cause issues when you're trying to sew. And just to show you once again, that's what an actual touch and sew bobbin looks like in the bobbin housing. It's literally right up against that metal of the bobbin case there. Doesn't really wibble as such. I can't really do a video on sewing machine bobbins without covering the vibrating shuttle. As regular viewers to the channel will know, this is Grandma. She's my Singer 27 treadle from 1912, and she has a shuttle, hence the name Vibrating Shuttle. It vibrates from back to front like that. And this is known as a bullet case, and inside the bullet case it's got a long bobbin. Now obviously it's pretty easy to tell just by the style of the bobbin race that this kind of machine isn't going to take a class 15 bobbin because there's just nowhere to put it. But this type of machine is also a little bit finicky about the type of bullet case that you install in it. Now, while it doesn't really matter what long bobbin you use, because these do tend to be a little bit more interchangeable, especially the modern bobbins, which tend to be just that little bit smaller, possibly so that they can fit into more brands of sewing machine that use this style of bobbin case. The bobbin case itself can come in different sizes, and the one thing that you need to watch is it's not necessarily across different brands that have the different sizes. You can find the different sizes within different models from the same brand. This is the one that I've taken out of her just. We're going to check the length first of all, and that's from the the flat bit here to the tip of the pointy bit, 48.75 millimeters. And if we do the diameter, 12.32 mil. This was the spare one that came with her. We're going to do the length first of all, from the flat bit to the tip of the pointy bit. We've got 48.88 mil. And now we're going to do the width, and that's coming out at 12.49. As you can see, although it isn't immediately obvious just by looking at these two bobbins side by side, there is in fact a slight size difference between the two. Because there is so much choice when it comes to vibrating shuttle bobbins and the bullet cases that go with them, I always recommend that if you are getting a vibrating shuttle machine, make sure that it has already got the bobbin and the bobbin case with it, because then you don't have to go to the trouble of trying to find the combination that will fit that particular machine. So the answer to does it matter which one you put in your machine is a definite yes, it does. Now obviously there are other bobbin systems and other brands of machine that use different size bobbins to the ones that I've covered in today's video, so always either check your manual or check with your manufacturer to make sure that you are using the right bobbin and the right bobbin case for that particular machine. If you haven't got a manual, you can download them, usually for free, from your sewing machine manufacturer or from a couple of places online. I'll put the link in the description box to a couple of the places that I use to find sewing machine manuals. If you can't find one online, drop an email to the manufacturer of your sewing machine. You'd be amazed what sewing machine manuals they still have on their books, and they might be able to send you a link or even tell you where you can get your hands on a copy. I hope you liked today's video, and I hope it's helped clarify the differences between the different bobbins and bobbin cases that are out there, and it's helped you work out which one you should be using for your machine. If you did like the video, give it a thumbs up, and why not go and check out some of the other videos I've got on the channel using the links coming up on the screen any minute now, or the ones I'll pop in the description box for you. And why not subscribe and click that little bell down below so that YouTube can let you know when I've uploaded another video. Whichever video you do go and check out next, hope to see you back here for the next one, and in the meantime, whatever you're sewing it with, embrace your creativity and have fun. Thank you ever so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye for now.